Welcome back, folks. Another day, another movie. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about the new Sony Pictures film, Devotion. Devotion is an aerial war epic based on the best-selling book of the same name. It tells the harrowing true story of two elite U.S. Navy fighter pilots during the Korean War. Their heroic sacrifices would ultimately make them the Navy's most celebrated wingmen. That is the synopsis of Devotion. It's directed by JD Dillard and is based on a book by Adam Makos. The cast includes Jonathan Majors, Glen Powell, Christina Jackson, Thomas Sadoski, and Joe Jonas. To give you a one-word description of this film, obviously outside of the fact that it was based on true events, it's to say that emotional came to mind first. Trying is another word I would use to describe the happenings in the film, being that the film was based on the Korean War. This was literally 1950. And obviously, if you know anything about U.S. history, you understand what some of the events or situations that could have taken place in regards to the character that Jonathan Majors plays by the name of Jesse Brown. Ensign Brown, to be specific, as the lone black naval aviator in his squadron. Now, the movie itself it showed us some of the moments that Jesse had to confront during his time with or on the naval ship when they were on that mission for the Korean War. In comparison to other films which have shown us how degrading and just plain old nasty certain racially charged situations can be, I would say that Devotion stayed on the lighter side. Obviously, there were racial undertone, misunderstandings, things of that nature. But this film was more about Jesse's internal battle and him wanting to prove that he was just as good as the rest, if not the best. I believe, my opinion is, that Jonathan Majors did a terrific job in this film. The reason as to why I stated emotional as a one-word description for this film is because you feel that emotion. It comes from Jonathan Majors. It seeps through the screen. And for all intents and purposes, he was able to get certain emotional reactions out of me. Props to Glen Powell, who played a strong role in this film. His second flying film of the year. He was also in Top Gun Maverick. People mention the whole quote-unquote white savior trope that's been in films and TV or whatever for years. They do well to not harp on that. They really show the relationship or the evolution of the relationship between the characters that Jonathan Majors and Glen Powell played. Glen Powell played the role of a lieutenant. To be clear here, Lieutenant Tom Hudner. And Lieutenant Hudner had never been in combat before, based on the events of the movie. So essentially, we get to see how he evolves into the decorated wingman that he eventually becomes. And that relationship that also evolves between him and Jesse in the short time that they got to know each other. You know, a lot of the time when you watch films like these war-based films, you really do go into it with certain expectations. The flight stunt coordination was done by the same gentleman who did the flight stunt coordination for Top Gun Maverick. So those scenes, those flight battle scenes, were very well done. And we were in the cockpit with these guys, and it felt real. The movie didn't feel too Hollywood for its own good. And I commend the film for that. I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a good film. I recommend folks to watch it. I think that understanding that this film was based on the quote-unquote forgotten war, the Korean War, is an interesting perspective. Because at the end of the movie, this is all factual information, it shows us during the credits the relationship that the Hudner and Brown family still keep to this day. The efforts of certain organizations who are still trying to bring Jesse home. Because that's what Lieutenant Hudner always wanted to do for Jesse's wife, Miss Daisy Brown. This film hits you. It shows us that even during that era, not everybody was out here trying to get the quote-unquote colored man. Some people just wanted to do whatever they wanted to do, no matter color, race, ethnicity, creed. And that comes from, should I say, a very humanistic approach to life. This film has a very good sense of humility. I would also say formality as well. And, outside of the fact that these are military men, even Jesse's relationship with his wife, where the devotion is really based on, right? I think the devotion to his love of his life, his family, the devotion to his country, his fellow countrymen, having to go on that very dangerous mission to try to bring back or to bring back or to help bring Marines back home, which ultimately ended in some traumatic events. That inner fight I spoke about, that Jesse was fighting, it was depicted in a very unique way. I believe it was 3 different times in the movie where you saw, or should I say, it was a combination of hearing, seeing, and just as the moviegoer observing Jesse berating himself. For a man to keep a book of all the hateful thing, like imagine that nowadays, right? For someone to write down every single hateful thing they've ever heard in their life, and they use all that trauma, which is basically what it is, and they use it as fuel. These scenes that Jonathan Majors acted out always took place in front of a bathroom mirror. And the last one that he acted out, Glen Powell finally got to physically see it because he was always wondering what it was that Jesse was doing. And then Jesse explained what it was that he was doing. And to see that, it's like that's when, from a philosophical standpoint, that's when you understand, and that's when you know someone can take a negative and somehow turn it into a positive. And Jesse's death, this is well known. Spoiler alert, folks. It's in the movie, it's in books. Ensign Jesse Brown passed during the Korean War. His passing, or how he died in battle, was also one of those events which was a negative that ultimately got turned into a positive. It should have happened right then and there, but Mr. Brown was posthumously awarded with an award for his duty in the war, for his sacrifice and things of that nature. The same award that his lieutenant was given after he came back home from the war. That was one positive. And the other positives, you can also say, were probably, well, let me not say it like that. But the other positives were probably the integration of more people of color into the ranks of naval aviators. Films like this, they don't get lost on me. Yeah, it's a lot of, you'll see your typical Hollywood tropes in regards to war films, ground battles, air battles, now even the exchanges and historical context between black and white folks. Like, all that's been given a Hollywood tint. But when you can sit down and appreciate something that is well done, not overdone, overcooked, overly acted, none of that took place here. Which is why I would recommend this movie. I think everybody in the film did good with their roles. Everything was believable. And as I stated before, I don't think anything gets lost on anyone. As I like to do, let's talk about the differences between what the critics are saying and what the audience is saying. Rotten Tomatoes, as per the usual. The more interesting part that I want to hone in on is the following. The amount of reviews between critics and the audience. Usually, you would see critic reviews up into the hundreds. The Rotten Tomatoes score, as per the critics, is at a 79% with only 76 reviews, which I find a little odd. The audience score, with over 500 plus verified ratings, is at a 93%. Why is that? Why is it that more critics give more time to, let's say, am I right with saying this? Yeah, okay. Marvel films. No knock. I love my Marvel movies. Just like anyone else would. But this being a historical drama and having one of the better up-and-coming actors in Hollywood, Jonathan Majors, in it, I would figure you would have more critics going out here to watch the movie. Now we're in the midst of a Jonathan Majors flood of films between here and 2023. Not flood, but a good steady stream, right? Earlier this year, he made an appearance. Was it this year? Whenever Loki was. He was in Loki, the series on Disney Plus. Devotion here. He's got Creed 3 coming in February of 2023. March 2023. And then he's got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, coming in February of 2023. And I think he's got another film set to release in 2023 as well, later on in the year. So I say all that because it's like he's the new it guy in Hollywood. And you would figure there'd be more people having more of a keen eye on his performances. And this performance was really good. But the critics didn't go out there and view this film. And on top of everything else, the critic score isn't as high as the audience score. It's telling. It's telling. That's all I got to say about that. But all right, folks. That is my take on Devotion. For those of you wondering, any happenings with your theater experience today? Not really. I went to an iPic theater down on Fulton Street in Manhattan. Very comfy. Very relaxing. Had me some dessert and a good old ginger ale while watching a movie. No one next to me. No one impeded. But I had a brain fart before the movie even started. Didn't even know what direction to go into because I wasn't aware where the auditorium was. Had to actually ask somebody as to where it was. He pointed it out to me. Got there. Went into the theater. I knew where my seat was. But when I looked at the aisle, everything was blocked off. The only thing about iPic is it's a weird way to get to your seat. It's not like other theaters where you can walk up and down the aisle and just walk into a row. Like there's steps, things are blocked off, you have to go around, you gotta go left, gotta go right. They gotta do better with that. But it was my own doing. Freaking brain farted. I'll know for next time. But that was the beginning of my theater experience. Nothing too crazy. And that, folks, is all it is. This has been my review on devotion. Come back next time. I'll have another review on deck, or maybe two. Depends on how things shake out tomorrow. Appreciate you guys for listening as always. I'll check you out in the next one. Have a good one, folks.